Righty, sports fans. What's going on?
How you doing, brother?
Doing all right. What hat is that? You've got more hats than anybody I know.
I collect hats. I love hats. You always ask me.
That's blue ribbon. Is that what it is?
That's blue ribbon. Yeah. You're like, what was the last time I wore a Detroit hat? You're like, pick a team. I'm like, I love them all.
Yeah.
I mean, I got my favorites. Everyone knows that.
That's
but
funny.
The Mets, the Dodgers, and the Orioles. Not always in that order, but I'm a big fan of logos, and beer. Beer.
Yeah. No, I get it. I mean, I have I definitely don't have as many as you do. I have 2 Giants hats. I have like 4 Mets. I actually have them from different eras of the Mets, so that's why I have so many.
Oh, that's cool.
I bought one in 2021. You know, the big famous Mike Piazza home run after 9/11.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was like I went to the game after that. Go figure, right?
Yeah, right.
The game. I had tickets to the game after that. So.
Yeah. Did you see the guy in the front row?
Yeah.
I was way behind him.
Exactly. That's what it's like saying. But anyways, I bought when they were in the black hats, I bought a black hat.
I have a black one. Yeah, I have the black hat.
And then other hats, I only have like maybe 4 other hats.
Really?
Yeah, I don't have a lot. I have this one. I have the American flag hat. I have the Italian flag hat with the Rocky on it.
Yep.
I think I have like one. I'm sure I'm missing something.
Like
I almost wore that tonight. I was like, I know you're going to wear it, but I was wrong.
It's like my teddy bear. It's always near me. No, I have totes of them. I collect them. Yeah, I do. Everyone has their thing, right?
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's amazing. Yeah, I told you, my one buddy got one in every stadium we went to.
That's awesome.
So he has the authentic on-the-field hat from each team at the stadium that we play.
Beautiful.
So he's got, I don't know, well, there's only 7. We didn't go to 7 stadiums. So what is there, 30 teams? So he has 23 hats.
Wow.
That's just from the stadiums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what else he's got, but
you know what I always
like to keep them all. I mean,
I got them in totes. They're kind of like just stacked on teeth, and but it just depends on the mood that strikes me. I mean, this is like a work hat type thing,
right.
I have really a lot of Carhartt ones and baseball ones especially, but what I really I gravitate towards are the old logos. I love the old logos. The Cleveland Browns, the Brownie, the Alf, that, or the old Houston Cowboys logo, or the Houston Oilers, or
that's old now too.
I mean,
what about all like like you said, the beer logos? How many defunct beers are there?
I love them.
There's like Rheingold and Schlitz.
Yeah. There's actually a site that I got this from, and I got a couple of others. It's called Angry Minnow, and they have all these beer, hats with all those defunct. Yeah. And they also got, and I'm waiting. Remember Smokey Bear?
Of course.
Smokey Bear. I mean, did you have a Smokey Bear when you were little?
I believe I did. I don't remember how big it was, but I believe I did. Yeah.
Like that tall.
Yeah.
He was like my hat. he was my teddy bear, and they have Smokey Bear hats. And
really?
Yeah,
I remember something. Like I remember when my dad was playing softball, they used to have Schlitz and Rheingold and what's the other one that was big in the
Utica Club. There was
there's so many of them.
Genesee. I mean, Genesee's just made down the road from me here. And
those weren't in New York City. They weren't in there.
Old Milwaukee. I mean, there's you can go on forever. Schlitz,
but they're all done now.
Yeah, Schmitz was out of
Schmitz. That was the other one. Schmitz.
Wasn't it out of Pennsylvania, Philip? Because I used to collect beer cans when I was young, and I had a big beer can collection, and they came out with the Bicentennial Series can. Do you remember ever seeing those?
I remember seeing the Bicentennial things on beer and alcohol and stuff, but not in particular like a Schmitz one or something. No.
Yeah, they were like on the back of them. They would have like a picture of like Benjamin Franklin signing the Declaration of Independence, and it was. I used to have all these beer cans.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah, no. Well, last episode you had mentioned a good idea that we said we were going to try, where we were going to create the backstories to some of the Rocky characters.
Yeah.
Which that's a fantastic idea, great idea. That's why we have partnership, because you think of things sometimes I don't.
And you do the same.
It's like, it was a fantastic idea. So we did say something on air last week about some characters, but we changed our mind.
Yes.
We changed our mind when we got off the air, and we're going with Adrian and Paulie.
We reserve the right to change our mind.
Exactly. So that's the first one. So we're going to go with Adrian and Paulie, the brother and sister team duo. That I think that's one of the few times you see Paulie smile.
Yeah.
So we're going to create the backstory for these guys, and I guess we'll just go ahead. Why don't you just read off what you got there, and we'll kind of interject and
for the viewers. We have not told each other our backstory. Right. So we wanted to, kind of like our top 10 list, we wanted to keep it as a surprise to you and ourselves to see how different or how close our stories may be.
Mm-hmm.
So without further ado, and we don't know how this is going to go, so bear with us. Why don't we go ladies before gentlemen?
Whatever you want to do.
Okay, I'll go with Adrian.
All right.
Okay. I'm starting out where Adrian, the mom and dad were happily married. But mom dies at an early age.
Oh,
Adrian being 7 years old.
Oh, wow. Okay. I laughed because I said to you earlier before we got on air, I said, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of similarities. And the very first thing you said couldn't be more different than what I have.
Okay.
So go ahead.
Okay. Why don't I do like a couple, then you do a couple? You want to do it like that?
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. All right. So mom dies, Adrian 7. Dad starts drinking, working several jobs to make ends meet, not paying a lot of attention to the kids, much less Adrian.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Adrian goes into a shell. It has to do the mom jobs around the house, laundry, cooking dinners, keeping the house clean, not being a kid, kind of being treated as not a wife, but, expected to do those duties, I guess.
Yeah.
How about I'll do 5, you do 5?
Sure. Whatever you want to do it.
Okay. Adrian's not making, a lot of friends at all because she's busy taking care of the house. She's an average student with no social life. And though dad does try from time to time, no one teaches Adrian about being a woman as far as makeup, dressing, clothing.
Well, it's also, if it was only a father in the household, that'd be a little tough. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if he's drinking and not really paying attention to her.
Right.
Yeah.
And my number 5, because I think we got 10 or 11 here.
I didn't number them like you did. I just put a paragraph, So.
Okay. After a huge argument, Polly leaves for the Navy. Adrian's basically alone most of the times. Dad is drunk, practically ignoring Adrian.
Okay.
So there's my first 5 for Adrian.
Okay. All right. Well, I went about it a very different way.
Okay. This is interesting because,
I didn't number them. I just wrote this like little summary of what I was thinking.
Okay.
And what I first did was, so I'm going to go a little off the cuff here, like we always do.
Sure.
What I first did was I wrote about mom and dad first.
Okay.
I gave their little biographies first because let's face it, 99% of us are all a product of our environment. So if that environment you have to understand for this environment to be what they are.
Okay.
So real quickly, I won't dwell on the parents, but so mom is a stay-at-home mom. She's shy. The relationship with her husband is mostly abusive mentally, sometimes physically. Tells Adrian that she needs to use her brains to get out of Philly. She's close with Adrian, and that's why it hurt her so much because she left in the middle of the night. Adrian was in high school. and finally had enough of the relationship, was never to be seen again.
Wow.
And then the dad was a military dad when he was young, dishonorably discharged for fighting an officer while he was drunk.
Okay.
Works on the docks, drinks a lot. He's abusive to Paulie. Basically doesn't even acknowledge Adrian. Tells her she's nobody. After the wife leaves, the drinking gets worse, and he kicks the kids out. He has a physical fight with Paulie. Adrian calls the police. Dad gets arrested. Neither one of them ever go visit him in jail, and he winds up just dying in jail alone. So talk about polar opposites of what.
Wow.
So now I'll go down to Adrian. So Adrian was in the younger years, she basically hid in her room, listening to her parents fighting. So she read a lot of books to escape what was going on in her life. Her teen years, she wanted to try to look pretty for boys. Parents shut it down, especially her dad, and that put her into a shell. When she got out of high school, she tries to get work in English or in literature of some kind because she loves the books and loves reading. No one hires her due to no college or no experience. Her friends tell her to come out to bars to meet people. She refuses. Winds up taking care of the house and Paulie with nobody being there except the two of them. She runs into a whole high school classmate, Gloria, while grocery shopping, and Gloria said, well, why don't you come work at the pet shop with me?
Okay.
So that's where that goes with Adrian.
Okay. Now, is there more to your story, or is that it?
No, that was pretty much it from there, because obviously when she starts working at the pet shop, it eventually leads to Rocky.
Okay.
But I just think that the parents, all right, she is like medically, clinically shy.
Depressed?
I mean, she is just over the top shy. There are shy people, and then there was Adrian. She finally flipped out at Paulie the one time. What do? I cook for you. I clean for you. When Rocky was over the house, she had it in her to be and stand up for herself. But seeing her parents, again, this is my imagination, seeing her parents grow up the way she didn't know any other way.
Gotcha.
She didn't know any different. She wasn't strong-willed to say, I'm not dealing with this, and I'm going to make better for myself. She just accepted it for what it was, and was shy and in a shell and basically almost a nobody for years. I mean,
almost invisible.
I mean, she was 29 when she met Rocky, because Paulie says she's pushing 30, so she's 29, let's say, even 28. So, I mean, you're talking, that's a long time to be the way she was, where she basically did nothing. She cooked and cleaned for Paulie. She went to work at the pet shop, which was basically a meaningless job. And that was it. She didn't do anything else.
Right.
So there's no way in the world she could have had parents that were supportive. And look, I know it's uncomfortable meeting boys, but at least try to talk to them, or maybe do makeup and they'll come to you, or like they didn't care about her.
No,
they didn't care about her at all. So it's similar to what you're saying, just very different for the parents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it kind of gets very kind of similar. You want me to finish up?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. So I had left off with, after an argument, Paulie leaves for the Navy, and Adrian's basically alone. Okay. So we very much agree on that point. Right. Adrian gets a job at the pet shop to just help make ends meet, and to get out of the house because she's just alone. She's just lonely. One day, Adrian comes into work and finds Butkus tied to the doorknob and says, "Please take care of him. I can no longer afford."
That's awesome.
Yeah. Working across from Mick's gym, she sees Rocky now and then, but they never meet. Paulie has returned from the Navy, but with the recession going on, finds a job at the Shamrock Meats, and he hates it there. Adrian helps take care of him.
Mm-hmm.
Paulie gets back into the booze because he hates Shamrock Meats so much, and his loud mouth gets him into a fight at a local bar. Outnumbered in a fight, Rocky steps in to help Paulie. Adrian sees Rocky help her brother. So basically, Paulie's getting the boot,
right?
you know, like 5 or 6 guys because of his mouth. And Rocky sees what's going on, and he goes over and helps. He doesn't know Paulie,
right?
But
okay,
he's this, this poor schlep getting his ass kicked by 5 guys, and he went over and helps. Adrian and Rocky meet after Paulie says his sister works in the pet shop.
There you go.
They became friends.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, I did a little bit about Paulie, which is similar to what you did. I did do, Paulie was ignored by his parents. Anything that was said by the father, it was very sarcastic, sometimes physical. He did, when he turned 18, he did go into the military. So Adrian was alone for those 4 years with nobody, because, like I said previously, she called the police on the father. The father's in jail, and the mother vanished. I mean, so she's alone at that point. Following in the father's footsteps, Paulie gets dishonorably discharged for getting into a drunken fight with a superior. And
I gotta tell you though, I thought about going the dishonorable discharge. I'm like, I just wasn't sure on that one. I'm like,
right.
I remember seeing the picture on the table, and I'm like, well, maybe he got his decoration.
Well, I just think it makes sense, because if he doesn't get dishonorably discharged and he does 4 years or whatever he does, he would have got a better job than a meat packing company.
You know what? You're absolutely correct on that one.
So for him to get dishonorably discharged, he goes over to the docks, tries to follow in his father's footsteps, not by choice. Mm-hmm. And then one of the guys at the docks say, "I know the meat Shamrock's hiring, go over the work there." But he is miserable. He is angry. And everything that was taken out on him, he takes out on Adrian, because he knows he can.
Yes.
He knows Adrian's not going anywhere.
Right.
So he treats her as a punching bag, not physically, literally, but mentally. He was mentally abusive to her. Mm-hmm. He didn't have many friends in high school. He kind of was a loner. Mm-hmm. That's where him and Adrian were similar. He was just more outgoing because he was so insecure with himself that he was running his mouth all the time and got him in trouble. So he was getting in a lot of fights in school, a lot of fights out of school. I didn't put in the Navy, but I put through the military. In the military, out of the military, he was just constantly, like you said, at the bar, just getting his butt handed to him because he doesn't know when to shut his mouth. Mm-hmm. And Adrian wasn't strong enough to say something like that to her brother. She just kind of took it. Okay, this is what my mom did, and this is what it has to be, which led us, like I said, she has the job at the pet shop. He has the job at Shamrock Meats. But I will admit, I did not continue writing to how, like, you could tell how Rocky's going to come into Adrian's life because she got the job at the pet shop. But I did not write how Paulie and Rocky would get together like you did, where you put the fight brought them together, technically. I did not go into that route where they finally met up. So it could have very well been they crossed paths at Andy's bar. He helped him when he was getting, 4 guys were trying to beat his butt. Or it could have even been where he was mouthing off to Rocky.
Yeah.
And Rocky, being Rocky, just walked away, threw his money on the bar, and is like, I'm not going to, beat the snot out of this guy when I know I can.
Right.
Maybe saw him the next day, hey, I know I see you around the neighborhood. Rocky, right? Yeah, I'm sorry about last night. Yeah, sometimes I say stupid things.
Yeah.
And then they started talking from there and, became friends.
Yeah. Very cool. I mean, it could have gone any way, but that's a great thing about it is we can make up our own backstory. And
you can. And I wonder if, it makes us think. I was thinking of it when you said it yesterday. Like, I wonder if Sly had any notes like that while he was writing the script.
Oh, very good point. Very good point. Well,
like, I wonder if he just had some bullet points where, father mentally abused, mother, whatever, anything, just to keep in track. Like, if I'm writing a line about Adrian, no, you know what? She would never have said that, because of this.
Right.
If the parents were supportive and accepting of who they are, you want to get into books, you want to get in some kind of literacy career, great. Let's see how we can do that for you. But they weren't. They hated their own lives.
Yeah. Well, to your point there, I think with Sly's writing style, and he's such a deep thinker, and we've all seen like his notebooks and how he doesn't go into paragraphs of it. He does the bullets a lot of times.
Right.
I could envision him doing that, to keep track of what would have got them from A to Z.
Well, I would think you'd have to. I would think you can't just say, all right, Adrian's shy. She works at this pet shop across from where Rocky trains. And, he goes over and talks to her all the time, but she's very shy. There's got to be more depth to the character. So you can't just wing it. You're going to have to create a person. If I told you a story about my cousin and just said, okay, yeah, he's shy. But I said to you, when he was young, he was really sick and this, and I gave you this whole backstory to why he became the way he is, then you understand it more.
Right.
Assuming, like you said, well, your backstory with the father is kind of similar.
Yeah.
But the mother is obviously different because she did pay a lot of attention to Adrian.
Right. Well, I have a little bit different, some differences with Polly's backstory, because I wrote one for Adrian and one for Polly.
So let's see. Yeah, let me hear your Polly backstory.
Okay. So these I need. Yeah. You can't hold this far enough away or close enough.
Oh, trust me, I know.
Okay. Again, mom and dad happily married. Mom dies when Polly is, I just guessed, around 10, 11 years old.
Yeah, Polly. Yeah, I would assume Polly's a year or so older than her.
Yeah. Dad started drinking, worked several jobs, leaving most of them because he's showing up drunk. Polly quits school, works odd jobs to help out.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
Very different. I like how we both had the father drinking, though.
Yeah, because
that was almost an automatic. You knew that was going to happen.
Yeah, not that it's always hereditary or something, but
it's close.
But you'll find out coming up.
Yeah.
With all the pressure of Dad's alcohol abuse and him trying to be there for Adrian, Polly tastes some of Dad's liquor for the first time.
Oh, okay.
Okay. He gets a job on the docks.
Okay.
But his mouth and his drinking keep getting him into fights.
We had the same thing there.
Yep. Finally, he's had enough. He joins the Navy to get away.
Okay.
I'm going to change this word because of what you said, and I completely agree with what you said. He is dishonorably discharged. Okay. I had honorably. I just changed it to dishonorably. Comes home with the recession going on, and he goes back to work, or he goes to work at Shamrock Meats, and he's just miserable and just starts drinking even more. Polly and Adrian's dad dies, and they are left the house where they keep living together. Polly's drinking and loudmouth get him in trouble at the Lucky Severn Tavern.
There you go.
Andy's. Paulie, outnumbered in a fight in the alley, starts taking a ass whooping. Rocky sees this after leaving Mick's gym from a workout and runs over to save the stranger.
Okay.
They become good friends, start
Yeah, because
hanging
Lucky
out.
Seven was like if this was Mick's and this was the pet shop, Lucky Seven was the other side of Mick's, right?
Yeah.
Supposedly. Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly. They become good friends, start hanging out, and Paulie says, "Hey, by the way, I got a sister who works at the pet shop. she's got serious. She's shy.
She's shy, all right. I mean, it's you see, like I said. Well, first of all, dishonorable discharge had, like I said, in my eyes, had to happen.
I agree.
It couldn't be honorably because, like I said, he would have had better job opportunities. He would have had better life opportunities.
Yep.
If he got out of the Navy, whenever he got out.
Sure.
We're assuming he did, 4 years. Obviously didn't do much more than that.
Right.
Because I mean, assuming Paulie is around the same age as Rocky, when they're in the beginning of Rocky. So assuming they're 29, let's say Adrian's 27. He went in at 18, he got out at 22. That's another 5 years, 6 years, 7 years of just working at the meat place already, where he's just like, my life's going nowhere.
Right.
I mean, and the sad part about that, I mean, you know how many people that really like that? I mean, there's a million of them that are like that, especially in bigger cities, in Detroit or Philly or something like that, where it's
everyday.
life. Yeah.
It's everyday life. And
I mean, they no education, no background to get a better paying and better career, in every aspect. But yeah, well, even Rocky, remember in Rocky 2, he was like, I'd like to be doing something like you're doing, like sitting behind a desk. The guy's like, look, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You didn't finish high school. You have no experience. I mean,
do you have an arrest? Do you have an arrest record? Do you have nothing worth bragging about.
That's on it. That's so funny.
I love that.
But I mean, yeah, so they obviously all right, look, sum up Paulie. If somebody was to describe Paulie, yes, he does have a heart of gold. He truly loves Adrian. He loves Rocky. But he has no idea how to express any emotion but aggravation and anger.
Right. Because that's all he was ever shown growing up.
That's all he was ever shown. Exactly. He, he doesn't, like I say, he's a product of his environment. He doesn't know any better. Not to say it's okay that he treats people that way, but he doesn't know any better. I mean, even when he talks to Rocky in Rocky 3 about, he wanted a job. He's like, he couldn't explain it eloquently enough to Rocky because he didn't have that type of emotion, experience, whatever you want to call. I don't know what term I'm looking for, but he was like, you moved Mick in, you fix your face up, you took care of everybody but me. It's like, why? We were friends. Like he says, who got you your first woman?
Yeah.
She was pregnant. I mean, but in Paulie's eyes, that hurt him. He's like, we're friends. I love you. And you're treating me like I don't belong.
Yeah.
Now he went about it the wrong way by saying, friends owe, and then of course, Rocky, friends don't owe, and
friends do because they want to do.
Yeah, they do because they want to do. And, and then he tells him you're a jealous, lazy bum, which is hearing the truth. And he didn't like that.
Oh, no.
But I mean, again, he was probably told he was a lazy bum by his father his whole life. His mother didn't say 2 words like Adrian. So you got 2 little, church mice in there.
Yeah.
so it's they and obviously it's not the best part of town they're growing up in. It's it's sad. It really is.
Sure. I mean, fighting, I would assume would be, I guess in Philly. Philly's known as a fighting town, right?
Yeah.
And you saw what Robert went through in Rocky V, and Paulie was probably there to defend himself and Adrian as well at times,
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I mean the similarities that you and I have. I mean, I think our plane is on the same level. I mean, some of the
Right.
details are a little different here and there,
Right.
but I think we're thinking on the same level as far. And that's what I was really interested to see, because you ask 10 people, 10 people see a car accident, right? You're going to get 10 different descriptions
Sure.
of
Oh,
the
yeah.
car accident.
Sure.
And but I mean, basically we're pretty much right there on the same level.
We're pretty close. I mean, we are pretty close.
details.
I mean, the father was definitely very close.
Yeah.
The drinking. I had him more abusive than you did. You had the parents having a good relationship
in the beginning.
And then the mother died.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I had them, complete opposite, because in my eyes, that's what I imagine the parents being like. Like if I met Paulie and Adrian, or if I even just met Paulie, more so, because Adrian being shy, I wouldn't be like, oh, she must her parents must be, verbally abusive and blah, blah. But if I met Paulie, I would definitely think, oh man, this guy,
there's some problems in that.
Yeah, that father's beating him or something. Was beating the mother. Yelling's going on constantly. I'm sure there's drinking going on.
Cops are being called.
Yeah, you could just see it. You could see it a mile away on how he acts. Which isn't very nice the way he acts.
Is going to be really cool is if Sly does come out with a, what was it, the prequel? He's going to have to. If he hadn't, he will have to come up with all these backstories. How close it would have been to yours or my thoughts.
Yeah, well, I mean, he absolutely has to come up with the backstories, because I mean, he's talking about going back 10 years.
Yeah.
Is what he said, where they were teenagers. They were like 16, 17 years old, 18 years old.
Sure.
So the parents have to be involved in that backstory in some way. Right. Maybe not a lot, but in some way.
Right.
They have to be. You can't just have a story about 17, 18-year-olds and, you don't know anything about their parents. It just wouldn't make sense. So I'm sure he already does. He already has that whole notebook full with the prequels.
Right.
I'm going to go over there and steal it.
I mean, even more now than ever is like, I really would like to see it, because I'm like, just to see how close our ideas would have been, Maybe we're on track. Maybe we're way off base what he's thinking. Who knows?
I can't see us being way off base. I mean,
no, I don't either. But
maybe with the mother. Well, I mean, we both have, like I said, you had the marriage, them getting along until she died,
right? And then everything falls apart.
And then he fell apart and became what I already had. Like I already had that the marriage was not nice, and he was the way he was with your character after the marriage, after the death. So we're similar on those paths,
Yeah, because in my mind, she held the family together. Back in those days, Dad was the breadwinner. Back in those times.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking. All right, so you're talking 76. They're 29.
Yeah,
so you go back to 66.
So Dad's the breadwinner. Feminism's starting to come around, with the 60s and all that.
Yeah.
But Mom is still the caretaker of the family. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in my mind, when Mom passes, everything falls to hell, because
no, it's not uncommon. It's not an uncommon story.
Because Dad doesn't know what to do. All he knows is to go to work and bring home
work and come home.
Yeah. He's like, what do I do with a girl?
It was a different world back then. I'm sure many people that are a lot younger than us would not be able to relate to it.
No,
but you're right. I mean, the dads went to work, whatever their work was, whether it was white collar, blue collar,
absolutely,
labor, whatever it was, they went to work, and the woman was the homemaker. It wasn't stay at home mom term, that didn't even exist.
No,
they were a housewife.
Right. And back then it wasn't uncommon for, you know, the oldest to quit school to take a job
to help the family.
Help the family.
I mean, women worked. Don't get me wrong. It wasn't like there was no women that worked at all.
Yeah.
But the majority of women, I would have to say at least 50% were housewives, were homemakers.
Well, yeah, like I think it was right on the cusp of feminism and the whole movement. You know, was in the in the mid to later 60s. So that's kind of where my brain was at, where, you know, they were back, you know, and mom held the family together. Dad made the money.
Yep. And then when mom dies, everything just went to hell. Yeah, you're right.
Dad had no idea what to do.
And it's a similar story to what I have, where the mother leaves.
Yeah.
Where she does just remove herself and say, you know, I'm done with this. And then, of course, the dad really doesn't know what to do.
Right.
So similar at that point.
Yeah, the circumstances are a little different, but it remains the same. As dad's like,
yeah, the outcome after the mother is gone.
Yeah,
ours are very similar after that.
Yeah.
It would just be before then. You and I before were different.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
Like I said, just looking at them, you just know they don't come from a good upbringing. You know, you could just tell. Just by listening to them and watching them and hearing how they speak to anybody. You know, they don't have any social graces. I mean, I know she's shy, but like she was, man, I've never met anybody that shy. I mean, I met some shy people before, but nothing like that.
Right. Well, you know, it was really cool in doing this little project with you. It was, you know, as I'm writing this down, I can visually see this playing out in my head, almost as a movie.
Yeah.
So, but especially what kind of like brought a smirk to my face was at the end of Paulie and my version of Paulie's story, when Paulie's getting his ass handed to him outside of Andy's, you know, and I can see this like it was a movie, you know. Rocky's walking out with his, you know, he's got his black leather and his, you know, fedora on. He's walking out of the gym after training, and he looks over and there's 4 or 5 guys beating the hell out of somebody else. And, you know, first he looks over, he's like, oh. And then he, you know, with Rocky, he's like, okay, you know, I'm going to go over, and he goes over and he breaks it up, you know, he puts a whooping on some of these guys and they all take off.
Yeah.
You know, shades of Jack Reacher type thing.
Yeah.
You know, he reaches down, he helps Paulie up, and, yo, my name's Rocky. Paulie.
Yeah, no, absolutely, I could see it, because, like,
you know what I'm saying?
I had it visually in my head as well. Like, I could see the house that they lived in.
Yeah,
was the same, because like I had the same thing where the house they grew up in after the parents were gone they stayed.
Yes,
you know, they stayed in the house. I mean, it made the most sense. You know, it's like people like that grow up in inner cities, and I don't even mean that like they have to be poor but a lot of people that grow up in inner cities like that, they don't like change. They don't like change. They don't like things to be different. You know, they a lot of them. I mean, I'm saying everybody, of course. So you can never say everybody.
Well, you grew up in a big metropolis, in a big city. I grew up in I grew up in the country. So but you know, you might have your family was more or less down there, right?
My entire family all lived within like 4 blocks of each other.
That's
like
what I'm
everybody.
saying.
My aunts, my uncles, my grandparents,
So
everybody was all in this square radius.
Yeah, so you can kind of speak from experience with that. Yeah.
And, you know, I remember, and they went nowhere. They went nowhere. They went nowhere on vacation. They went nowhere.
Oh, really?
And that, I don't know what that's about and why. I knew that when I got old enough and I was able to go, I went anywhere and everywhere I could. I didn't care where it was.
Yeah.
If I never saw it, like I remember going to New Jersey for the first time and the Poconos for the first time, thinking, oh, wow, I'm traveling. I mean, and you know, somebody like Adrian or Paulie, that house they lived in, they probably had a grocery store over here. They probably had, a liquor store over here.
Yeah.
And, they didn't own a car.
No.
They never really wandered around and wandered off. And
which makes me wonder, because they had to have driver's licenses back then, and I know it's just kind of like a given and no one really thinks about it, but Rocky buys the Trans Am, right? He can't drive. Clearly, he can't drive.
No, he can't.
And then he can't afford it after a while, and Paulie picks up the payments. He can't have a license. Well, he's never driven. What the hell?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's getting a little
one. I don't know. Yeah,
it's getting really deep in there, but
but yeah, that's the fun part of it. You can make it up however you want. Like I said to you before we went on air, these two were kind of easy, and I knew we were going to have similarities. I knew that there was no doubt in my mind the father was going to be drinking on both our stories.
Mm-hmm.
Just because of Paulie. I mean,
sure,
you almost had to.
Mm-hmm.
So they were kind of easy. Not really, I shouldn't say easy. They were kind of a lot of stuff. A lot of information was there for the taking for you to develop that story. Now, if we do somebody like Clubber Lang next, that's, you got an empty slate there because you just got an angry guy from Chicago.
Yeah.
So
it reminds me of that song, East Side of Chicago, back in the USA.
Oh my God.
Back in the bad old days.
Talk about a one-hit wonder. Jeez.
I love that song.
It was the night Chicago died.
The night Chicago died. Yes, thank you. I used to have, what was the little ones, the 45s?
Yeah.
Yeah, I wore the hell out of that thing.
45s, the night Chicago died. Yep, I remember that.
Yep.
There was a ton of one-hit wonders at that time.
Oh my God, yeah. You go back then, and the Archies, and you just. But I love that music. I don't know about you, Tony. I love it.
No, I like. I go on my playlist. I go as far back as to the mid to early 50s.
Cool.
There depends on some of the music, but yeah, 50s, 60s, definitely 70s and 80s, and then some of the 90s up until like 99. Once 2000 hit, I could probably name songs on one hand how many I liked after 2000.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's funny you said that, because I said that the other day to one of my daughters. I was like, that the problem is because you don't like anything today. I said that's not true. If it's good enough, and I don't mean good enough for me in my eyes. Of course, not everybody feels the same. True. But if something's good enough, it's going to be liked.
Yeah. Whether
it be a good story, a good lyrics, good music, good film, acting, whatever. If it's good, you could, if you see a film, but you don't like the main actor, but the film is good, story's good, and the acting is good, you got to give it credit. You got to say, that's a good movie. I don't like what's his name, but that's a good movie. And it's the same thing with music. You could not like the artist, but if it's a good song and it resonates to you, it's a good song. It's that simple. Well, so I told him, and the biggest problem with today's kids, these kids today,
these damn kids.
But the biggest problem, and I said to Gina, was they don't have their own identity. They're copying, they're sampling and copying things from the 80s. They're going back to the 90s with some of their attire and the nose rings and some of the clothes. The other day, my daughter came home. She had like the Flashdance sweatshirt.
Oh yeah,
cut out. I'm like, it's that was 84. I'm like,
hey, Irene Cara, what are you doing?
Like, you guys don't have any, like, nothing is of your own. Like, if I told you describe the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and the 90s, you could say, oh, well, this one here was, neon and lace and, pastel
parachute pants.
Yeah, parachute pants and a white blazer with a t-shirt. And, that's the 80s.
Yeah.
But this generation, they don't have anything to identify them. So they're too busy just copying everything else.
Yeah. I agree. the music, other than country, which I'll listen to, here and there, but I don't know. Up here, the radio station, and it's probably the same everywhere. That it's like they don't even need DJs.
Yeah,
because they just play the same damn songs every hour.
I have Spotify. I don't listen to the radio. I
can't. Every once in a while.
That was even when we were young. They played the same 8 songs on the radio. That's why we all made our mixed cassette tapes. And put those in.
I've always said this for a gazillion years. Why? There's one radio station when I'm going into Rochester. Okay, in Rochester, New York. I'll pick it up, and it's called the Lake, and they just play a variety of everything and anything.
There you go.
1 minute I'm listening to James Taylor, out of the blue, and then I could be listening to I don't know, Bon Jovi,
Okay.
And it's just kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
But it's a great variety because it's like, oh, I remember this song.
Well, it also might be. I mean, the two most what word am I looking for here? The two most influential decades in music would be like the late 60s, early 70s, and the late 80s, early 90s. Because I mean, you got your 80s music, which is obvious if you hear it. Your 90s brought in your grunge and that type of music. Your 60s, you had your hippie music. Your 70s, you had your disco and your everything. I don't think there was a song that was written in any negativity whatsoever during the 70s.
No.
Everything was all, So they're very influential on everything else. So that's probably the kind of station that they have. It's like a 70s, 80s station or something.
It's just kind of like all over the place. I'm like, this is nice because
everybody's watching the show right now just goes, wait a minute. I thought we were talking about Paulie and Adrian. They didn't even have a radio. What are you talking about?
What happened? Well, we didn't even go to left field. We went to the bullpen on this one.
I know. We drifted. I don't even know how we listen how crazy this is. I said we have to figure out Clubber Lang. All we have is an angry guy from Chicago. Then you went off on the night Chicago died, and then we started talking about one-hit wonders, and we just kept going.
I know.
But
again, two guys in a bar having a conversation.
That's what it is. That's what it is. You don't go in when you hang out with friends at a bar or in your backyard or wherever you are, having a drink, hanging out, chatting. There is no itinerary. We don't say, okay, tonight we're talking about this tonight. I mean, no. You just, and then that one conversation leads you here and leads you there and leads you here and leads you there. And then you do go back to the beginning again. So all good.
Yeah.
So who are we going to do next? We're going to have to think about that.
Yeah. Let's you want to pick names or you want to think about it?
Yeah, let's think about it. I don't want to keep saying names on air and then change them.
You guys.
So yeah, we'll talk about it. And I think we should do 2.
I do too.
Yeah, I don't think we should do 1, even though this one was a couple kind of thing. I think from here moving forward, like if we do Clubber Lang, then we should do someone else with him because it's nothing that I don't think could stay for the whole show. I don't think it's withstanding.
No, I
just one.
I agree.
So
unless we start talking about more one-hit wonders,
which we very well could. Hey, there's a lot of good one-hit wonders. A lot.
I love them. Sugar. Dun, 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 dun.
Well, they actually had a couple hits, but
did they?
But there's a lot. There's a lot. I mean, I can't believe you remember the night Chicago died. That's
funny. I love that song. Paper Lace. That was the name of the group. Paper Lace.
Paper Lace. Yeah.
Yes.
That's so funny. Yeah, they did nothing after that.
Ding, 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 ding. No.
Remember the beat? It was like remember the beginning of the song was like beep, came down.
Yep.
Back in the bad old days.
Yes.
That's funny.
In the heat of a summer. No.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
All right. We're gonna let everybody go before they
sorry guys.
Stop following us. Okay.
It was coffee.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd question what's in that mug every week. I don't know.
I know you do.
It was, all right. Well,
it was coffee.
We might do another one next week. We'll see. But we definitely going to continue this.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're going to do another one back to back, but we'll Rick and I will figure that out.
Well, I liked it. I enjoyed it.
Yeah,
I thought it was
yeah,
fun.
it was good.
Yeah.
And Antonio Tarver's episode that aired last week.
Mm-hmm.
We got a lot of traction from him, so I just want to say thank you to him real quick
for
doing promo for us, putting him on putting us on his page, collaborating with us. So thank you, Antonio. We appreciate that, champ.
Yeah. Once again, proving what I said on the last episode was a gentleman, a pure, true gentleman, through and through. Like I said, he walked up to the Hall of Fame by himself. I'm like, oh my God. And he was, just like you and me sitting here talking. He's like, awesome. Yeah, hey, how you doing?
Awesome.
Antonio, you're the bomb, man.
Appreciate it. All right, everybody. We'll see everybody next week. Until then, thanks for watching.